Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. My name's Peter Wolford. Thank you very much for coming this evening. I'm starting because it was scheduled for 6 o'clock, and although on the system we've got about 30 people expected to come, we can't keep you sitting around forever because they're late. So I expect a few more will dribble in, and we've got some more chairs for them. They can also stand behind there. I'm going to shout because, it's falling to pieces, I'm going to shout because there's quite a bit of background noise, and if I sort of start lowering and you can't hear me, just sort of, tell me, and I'll speak up. Is this loud enough at the moment? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm here to talk to you about, ideas, disasters, and my experience so far in getting things made in China. Failure is actually very common in business. I've had failures, I'm going to talk to you about that. It's everywhere you go, and it's not just the little minnows that fail. Have you pressed the red button on there? Because we could fail with the camera. Actually, it's big companies that fail. If you've been through Radlett, if you know the Radlett area, Sainsbury's a couple of years ago opened a new branch in Radlett. It was a failure. And if they'd taken the trouble to send anybody around the town with a clipboard asking people, should we open a new branch at that end of Radlett, they would have got the answer. After about a year, they folded, and they probably wasted £2 or £3 million. Total waste of money. So, in fact, anybody can fail, large or small. I'm going to tell you this evening about 4 things. First of all, I'm going to tell you about, let's get this in the right order, my own failure in particular with this invention, the one that I've hung up over there. You've had a chance maybe to look at that. The second thing I'm going to tell you is the antidote. What I think is the antidote, for me anyway, the antidote to going into another failure. And I've called it the PW19 very modestly. Not deliberately, not 20, but 19. You'll find out why. The third thing I'm going to tell you is the reason I'm now dabbling around in the DIY market, and the thing that I'm developing in the DIY market, which actually, sorry to say this, I was going to bring this evening, but I chickened out, because when I looked at some of the people and their profiles and said you were going to turn up this evening, I thought, there's too many people there with a lot of money and a lot of contacts, and I'm frightened that they're going to get my ideas. So, I'm sorry, I didn't bring it. And finally, China. What I found is going on in China, and the experience of other expats there, and my experience so far in getting things made over there, and the cost of doing so. So first of all, I want to talk to you about failure. I want to talk about my device. And now, there's a picture up there. What I'll do, actually, I'm going to break all the rules of public speaking and hand this to you so that you can have another look at it as I'm talking about it, so you can get a grasp. Pass it round as quickly as possible. I'll hand this one out this end. Pass that round as quickly as possible, please. This, another cap coming up. The invention that is on that piece of paper is called a floor pad cleaner. I got the idea when I was living in Holland about 12 years ago. And what I was doing in Holland was making lists of ideas, and I found that for idea generation, do come in, there's a chair over there, for idea generation, one of the best ways to generate ideas is to write them down. And as you're going round, you're doing a bit of gardening, a bit of decorating, cleaning the car, you say to yourself, I wish I had a so-and-so. Because you haven't got one, you haven't got something that gets into the wheel arches or whatever it is. I wish I had a so-and-so. So you just go to your laptop, wherever you make your notes, and you have a little thing, inventions, and you write them down. I'm up to 45 at the moment. I had a list of 40 in Holland. It's in an old file, in fact, so I've gone through them recently. Nothing there of any interest to me now. But that's one of the things to do, make lists. Now, I came back from Holland about 12 years ago, and on my list was floor pad cleaner. And I thought, well, I know that business. I was a contract cleaner. I used to buy floor pads. I used to deal with floor pad distributors. I know all about their business. I'll do a floor pad cleaner. So I got the bottom of a dustbin, chopped it off, put a funnel in the middle, put a floor pad in it and some water, and I made a sort of a lid thing which I could slide round like this, and that's what you'll see in the picture. Please pass it around as quickly as possible. And And it worked, and it actually, I had to go through some difficult phases in actually developing it to work properly. I started with brushes, like shading brushes on the outside. I had to eliminate brushes. I had to come up with an idea that would clean the pad all the way across the surfaces. And you can see in the picture, I came up with a lid which slid like this. And I've got a nice tub shape here, which is nice and convenient. It slid like this, and it had rings on it, like the ends of a pipe. Because of a chance comment somebody made to me in the Netherlands, when they said, oh, if you're going to scrape a floor, use the end of a pipe. I remember that, and I put it in that idea. And that did get a patent grant. Eventually there was a patent grant. But I think there's some lessons to be learned from this product. As you can see, it's quite large, it's actually quite heavy. It's expensive to make because it's so big. I didn't think of that at the time. It's expensive to send in the post when you put a box around and send it away because it's so heavy. I've never been involved in manufacturing before. Who here has actually brought a product to the market that you've invented and manufactured? Anybody? Okay, I'd never done it. I'd never done it before until I made that one. And when you do it, unless you're really engaging your brain, you make some horrible mistakes. But the worst mistake I made when I made this product was choosing it in the first place, because it's a complete dud. I sold about 600 of them. £65 plus VAT, and then I decided to shut it down. Because the demand for this product in the UK is quite small. It's actually getting smaller. Floor pads are getting cheaper all the time. People are using them once, chucking them away, only cost £1. When I was in the game years ago, floor pads were expensive. They were £4, £5, £6, £7 each in today's money, at least, if not 10. Now, they're very cheap. So really the product was behind its time. But the other mistake I made when I went into this business, and may as well tell you this, that I came back from the Netherlands and I wasn't in a very good negotiating position. I needed a partner who financed it, and I had somebody in mind. He was actually a janitorial supplier who I used to use. I took a confidentiality agreement like this, and I've got a pile of them for you, because I'd like you to take something away from this meeting that would help you and save you time and money. And this is my NDA, my non-disclosure agreement. It's 4 pages long. I've been refining it and using it for years. And you're welcome to take a free copy of this away. I've got about 20 of them on the bar, so help yourself. NDA. Now, I went to a businessman in Watford with this NDA. I said, sign that, and you can see my invention. I opened the car boot, there it was, bottom of a dustbin. I said, that's how it works. He said, wow, that's fantastic. He says, come in the office, we'll do a deal. So I went in the office, he said, we can make this for 20,000 quid. I'll pay the 20,000 quid. And you do the job, you know, getting the product developed and all the advertising, marketing, printing, packaging, all that stuff. And together, we'll conquer the world, you see? So that's what we decided to do. It actually cost £40,000. And I made a critical mistake. And it's this, that he said to me, he said, I won't put 20,000 in at the beginning. He said, I'll drip feed it in, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 at a time. I said, all right then. I shouldn't have agreed to that, but I did, because I was in a poor negotiating position. Perhaps I should have shut the boot of the car, gone off somewhere else, and showed it to some other people under not an NDA, to see if we could get myself a better deal. I didn't do that. And what happened was that Murphy's Law, a few months into the project, his wife decided to divorce him. She was the director of the company. She said, you're not moving any more money over. So the lesson of the story is, make sure you get your funds up front, ring-fenced, no nonsense, no, you know, ring-fence your funds up front. Otherwise, Murphy's Law, lightning will strike, you see. You might think you're a fool, Wolford, you know, why did you agree to that before, you say? Well, everybody's wise after the event, aren't they, you see. Now the other thing was, and the other mistake we made, was not continuing with the use of NDAs, because we could have gone to the factories and said, right, we're trying to make this, sign this NDA, and work with us, and you know, we want a quotation from you for the cost of moulding for these, for the lid, which was injection moulding, and for the base, which was the rotationally moulding. Rotational moulding is like an egg, splits in half, you put your powder inside the egg, you shut your egg, you put it in a furnace, and it goes on a slow motion kind of carousel ride inside an enormous furnace. The powder melts, it forms a shape inside the egg, then the egg is split open, it's trimmed, and you've got 2 bolts. And that's rotational mould. Those moulds cost about £4,000 or £5,000 each. If you injection mould something this size, it'll cost you £50,000 for the injection mould. We didn't have that sort of money. So we rotationally moulded the product, which meant that it was a lower quality, and it was much heavier, and it was not stackable in the way that, you know, egg boxes are stackable. We did it on the cheap, but it was good enough for the market. But the market wasn't that interested in the product. So those are mistakes people make. What I was explaining was this: you go to your factories, you use a non-disclosure agreement. That is normal. You will find most factories will honour that. They're too busy doing their own work to nick your idea, actually. But the thing is this, that most inventors, when they have an idea, they're usually a bit paranoid about people stealing it, you see. Now, not entirely without reason, but the people who steal the ideas are not tool makers, right? They don't steal your ideas, generally speaking. The kind of people who steal your ideas are the kind of people you might meet in a meeting like this, unfortunately, who've got, you know, they've just been made redundant for $100 grand. They've got nothing else to do. You know, sorry, I'm not meaning to be insulting, but you know, the kind of people who are going to nick your idea are most likely to be at this meeting, not a tool maker. So if you get an idea, go to your tool makers and use the NDA. Don't make a patent application. Because what happens is that if you make a patent application, and actually over there there's a meeting at the moment, intellectual property meeting, okay? Now I'm sure there are lovely people in there, they will have patent attorneys in there. If you go and meet a patent attorney, the first thing he'll say is, well, you better get some protection in place here, let's do a professional draft, that'll be £2,000 plus VAT. You see? But a year later, you might not even make that product. You might move on to something else. Your £2,000 has been wasted. So the classic mistake is premature patenting. You can presumably hear what I'm saying, but you're in the corner there. The classic error for inventors is premature patenting. Don't do it. Because if you do, within 18 months, you'll have to pay a fee for publication. That means the whole world then knows what you're thinking about. You can go to a library and nick your idea. Don't do it. Within a year of that, 2.5-year point, you're going to start getting bills. Right, well, you want to reserve Germany? £3,000, please. Japan, £3,500. France, can I do the whole of the EU? No, you can't do. No, you have to pay a fee for every country after 2.5 years. What happens, as with us and with so many inventors, you get to the 2.5-year point and you don't have a product to sell. And they want, I just had an email from a bloke, an Australian. See, he said, how are you doing, Wolford? He met me out in China. He's made the same mistake. He's getting bills 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 quid for his patents. He hasn't even got a product to sell yet. It happens all the time, and the only people who make money are the patent attorneys. Okay? There's a saying, isn't there? In a gold rush, sell the picks and the shovels. Yeah, you know that one? In a gold rush, don't go in there with a pan looking for gold. Sell the pans and the picks and the shovels to the people who are rushing past you. Now, I'm not knocking the patent attorneys. They're no worse than bank managers or anybody else. But you know, that's the way the world works. So be wise. Don't patent prematurely. So I think I've got my point across now. I'm just trying to help you, that's all. Because I did it, I didn't want to do it. I told my partner, no, we'll get the bill to move on my product, but he wouldn't listen. Because he said, oh, well, my money's on the line, he says. My money's on the line, so we've got to protect it. We must have a patent application straight away. Now, the other thing about patents is that what you can do is you can draft it yourself. You can write it all yourself, put all the details in, pictures, everything, every imaginable piece of information, every imaginable claim about your invention. No matter how imaginative or spurious it might sound, whack it all in, you can send that to the patent office yourself. You don't need an attorney. But what you do have to do is within 12 months, you need to take that to a patent attorney and say, look, you know, let's get this done in legalese. Then you can hand your 2,000 plus VAT and we'll go back for it. But defer the expense, because usually expenses deferred means money saved, doesn't it? And if you're an inventor and you spend £2,500, including VAT, you cannot reclaim because you did not register for VAT, and you only have can only go back about 6 months for VAT. If you're not back registered, if you spend VAT back there, you can't get it. You can't reclaim it. You lost that 500 quid, 400 quid. So I can't overemphasise how important it is. Don't patent too early. Okay? Right. Now the failure of this product, you've got the picture. But the failure of this product was primarily because of a lack of analytical thinking. And that is where this comes in. This is the PW19. Now, this product, as you can see, it's very big, it's very specialised, it's very heavy, it's expensive, relatively expensive to make, it's very expensive to make in fact, with injection molding. What you need is something at the other end of the scale, and that's where what I call the PW19 comes in. This is a list, or a checklist, which the product I'm now working on, I'm stacking up against this list. And I'm saying, I don't want to make anything that doesn't tick every single one of those boxes. I've got copies of it here. I'll give these out afterwards. Don't give them out now because nobody's